Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob Potter from the promiserevealed.net. It's been a long time since I've had a couple interviews. I have a Frank Chili interview coming out, and I have a Sandra Michael. And this interview is going to be a very profound and groundbreaking interview. Above me is pronounced, help me if I pronounce it, Michel Zirger.
Well, okay, Michel Zirger. Zirger, okay.
Zirger, okay. He is from France. He now lives in Japan. And folks, we're going to get into his information in just a moment. He has some very profound Venusian history. I was talking with Raymond Keller the other night, and I said if in Wikipedia in Venus they should have Cosmic Ray or Raymond Keller listed, say, see Raymond Keller. And after hearing about this tremendous documentation and the guidance that Mr. Zirger has had throughout his life, and the actual manuscripts of George Adamski and much of the history of George Hunt Williamson as well, I think you're going to see a lot of correspondences between the Cosmic Raymond Keller and Mr. Zirger, who I'm literally just meeting, folks. So we're going to get to him in just a minute. Before we start, I wanted to mention that I have some new announcements here, and I think I should just start out by sharing my screen here. We're going to, this is my website, as most of you know, thepromiserevealed.net. This is a summer conference. This banner is actually shifting, and we've had the early bird special has gone away now. We're now into our Christmas special here on the prices for the summer conference. And I'm going to share with you something exciting. I want to thank Neil Gar at Portal to Ascension. His layout was a lot better. Most of you know that on my website, I'm like a toddler with three thumbs. My design is not so good. So I got my web developers and we kind of copied this version. So you can see here, this is the more easier to read, more interesting version of the conference. And here we see we have a new addition to our conference. Many of you know my good friend. I don't know her that well, but I've been a fan of hers since 1978. The woman who came from Venus, Mrs. Omnek, the little Venusian who lowered her vibration and came here and so the Venusians could study what a Venusian body lower to the third dimension would fare as. And so she'll be coming along with her daughter, Toby Greenwald, and Anya Schaefer. Of course, the ever-present Dr. Raymond Keller, Vivian Chauvet, myself, Sasha Stone, Dan Winter will be appearing by remote video, live, we hope, possibly, but Ismael Perez, and of course, our wonderful historian and fluorescence alchemist, Jane DeForest. We got Brad Olson, Anya Schaefer, Scott Warner, and Haruko. We also have Shari Lynn and Alan Steinfeld coming. So it's a much smaller group this year. But you can see it's only 196 days away, folks. So save your pennies, make your plan. This is the location. We've got some tickets down here. We have this really fun little thing up here. So you want to know where you're going to stay at this event. You just click this button up here, where to stay. And I have all this before, but the ease of reading and everything, these are all your links. You want to find out where you're going. If you have any facts or anything you want to know, all the questions and answers are right here. We're not sure about the vendors yet, but this is it. We don't have a schedule, but the speakers here, it's pretty simple. You're just going to click on them. You're going to see their bio, and you can learn all about them. So feel free to check this out on my website, what's going on there. So I'm going to take you back to the homepage real quick. And I'm going to be sending out emails to all those people in the basic membership and inner circle. You're going to have a discount applied for you. As always, I do mention these wonderful products that were given to us by the Pleiadians, and we're moving forward. I am going to be appearing in March in the Biomed Expo in LA. But this is the one I want you to tune into. Graham Hancock, myself, Brad Olson, and there's some others now, but this is a cruise to Mexico on a beautiful boat. We're going to start from Los Angeles, and we're going to head down, and you get to see all these great speakers and many more. When you click this link, there's no requirements for vax, tests, masks, anything. So you learn about the cruise here, but one of the things you should know is when you go to sign up, you have to put a name in. I ask that you put my name in because I will give you a free session on the cruise. I'm going to be doing some healing as my main profession for many, many years, and I have decided to kind of get back into it a little bit these days. So I wanted to just encourage you all to I was going to look for my new business card that I made. Maybe I'll pull it up later. But that's the Hidden Secrets Cruise. And then FYI, in the future, I am going to be, of course, having my conference this summer. Please check it out. Prices are going to go up. We're only going to have 275 tickets this year. We typically go 350, a little bit more. But due to some venue restrictions and so forth, we're going to be a little different. So I encourage you to get your tickets while the discounts are available. And please also sign up for my membership page on the homepage there. All this information about me, the events, upcoming events, and so forth and so on is here. So the Inner Circle membership contains a tremendous amount of information. You have Brother Philip's Secret of the Andes book there, who is George Hunt Williamson, we'll be learning about. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on him, Michel Zirger. Zirger, he is French. He speaks perfect French. Zirger. Zirger? Okay. So, Mr. Zirger, can you please tell us your history of UFO research? And we're going to have you share. He's written several books. And I don't know if we'll get into this interview, folks, but he also is in contact with some selected individuals of 500 that were taken from 50 different worlds, or 50 different nations, and taken to another planet of human-looking ETs to act as ambassadors and to calm people as we're coming towards the great revelation that we're not alone, and the preparations are well in place for the Galactic Confederation of Light and many other races to come forward and introduce to mankind in our long-awaited open contact. I've talked about this. We've all been talking about it. And all of us who have known this is real have been very limited by the fact that they are not announcing themselves. So, Mr. Zirger, I'm going to ask you, I want to thank you for coming on. And I'd like you to just share information about how you got started in the field and wonderful information you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a long story. I've been interested in UFO since I was 13 years old. 13 years old. Because I'm French, so I was my mother told me when I was 13 years old that she had a sighting in 1964, in July 1964, near Paris, in France. And she saw a genuine flying saucer hovering just in front of our window of our apartment. And this flying saucer was like two plates, reverse on one on the other, with a dome and many beam of lights. But it was a real flying saucer. So I got interested from that time, and I read many books, French, in French, of course, in English, but at that time it was difficult to find UFO books in English in Paris. So, but little by little, I find many books. And in 1992, I would say, I start again to be interested in George Adamski. I start again to be interested in George Adamski, and so interested that I decided to go to Japan. Why Japan? Because in Japan, at that time, in the 1990s, there was the biggest organization dealing with George Adamski. It was the name was Gate Appointed Program, GAP Japan. So I had friends in Japan. So I decided in 1994 to go to Japan. And I've lived in Japan since then, so 28 years. And so I got interested in George Adamski in 1992. And but many things were written about George Adamski. So I got interested mostly in George and Williamson. Why? Because in Flying Saucers Have Landed, there is nothing about George Hunt Williamson. George Hunt Williamson was one of the witnesses of the Desert Center case. Maybe we have to remember the listener. On November 20, 1952, George Adamski and 6 other witnesses, among them George Hunt Williamson, had the third encounter of the third kind, if we can say this. Adamski met the famous Horson, and the 6 other witnesses witnessed this meeting through binoculars from 600 meter to 1 mile.
Wow, that's a long way away.
Yeah, 1 mile, but with binoculars. And Lucy McGuinness and Alice K. Wells. Alice K. Wells was maybe a quarter of a mile from the meeting, from the place of the meeting. So she could draw the famous drawing of Orson.
Right. Raymond had said that George Hunt Williamson was the one who telepathically communicated the location. Is that correct?
According to Williamson, George Hunt Williamson decided at the last moment the spot where they had to stop the cars. There was two cars, Adamski's car and Alfred Bellet's car, and Williamson decided we are going to stop here in front of the Coxcomb Mountain. But Adamski said it's him who decided. George Hunt Williamson said it's him who decided. So there is 2 versions. But according to Williamson, he decided to stop in front of the Coxcomb Mountains in California.
Right. I'm going to share a picture, folks, while Mr. Zirger is talking. This is George Hunt Williamson, a very profound contactee who was very instrumental. He was quite telepathic, and he has a long history, which we'll hear about. But we're talking about this gentleman here. I'm going to share a picture of Mrs. Wells. You keep talking, Mr. Zirger. I'll share another image of Orthon with Alice K. Wells in front of it, and a picture of George Adamski.
So I get interested in George Hunt Williamson, and so I start collecting everything I could on George Hunt Williamson, and also, if possible, on George Adamski. And in the 1990s, the early 1990s, I start buying personal papers from George Hunt Williamson Library. I bought most of his manuscripts. I bought Other Tongue of the Flesh, the manuscript of Other Tongue of the Flesh, the manuscript of Road in the Sky, the manuscript of Secret Places of the Lion. I bought the manuscript of Chippewa Diary, many things, many paper, many letters. I bought his last diary. I bought his book note of when he was in Peru in 1977. So I bought many things. And with thanks to this material, I could write my books. So I wrote We Are Here. I wrote the first biography of George and Williamson, which the title was Mystical Journey. And recently I wrote a second biography of George and Williamson. The title is Man of Mysteries, which just come out now on Amazon. So I focus on George and Williamson a lot. And I started writing articles and for a French magazine and English magazine. And also, I have to talk about it, but in 1994, I had 2 extraterrestrial encounters in Japan. And I had a third one encounter in 2010, always in Japan.
I want to ask you right here, folks. I would like you to, if you could, share your books. And if people would like to buy these amazing books that really show the details of the background, much like Dr. Keller's research, if you could share the image of the book, I think you have some behind you, your books, and share them where they can get your books right now. Then I'd like you to share your encounter of how you met them. This is much like how I have met them for many years.
So first, I'm going to show you some picture.
Okay.
Of the book. I have my technician beside me. My technician is beside me.
Very good. For some reason, I'm not able to see you there. Oh, there we go. Okay.
The picture. But I can show you the manuscript first. We're going to show you the other.
Is this your manuscript or George Hunt Williamson's?
It's George Hunt Williamson's manuscript, original manuscript, unique.
Is this Other Tongues, Other Flesh?
Other Tongues, Other Flesh.
Wonderful.
I'll just show you some. So this is a title page. I'm going to show you some picture. You know this famous picture? This is the original print from Desert Center, photos taken by George and Williamson or by his wife. So here we have George Adamski, Lucy McGuinness, and here George Adamski after the meeting with Orson. This is unique print. The negative are lost. There is no negative. So this is the last surviving print. There is no negative. This is Desert Center original photos.
This of them looking over at Adamski?
There is Adamski with a telescope, Lucy McGuinness near the car, and here Adamski after the meeting with Orson, 20 minutes after the meeting.
I have seen that image, yeah.
Yes, you know the image, but this is the original print.
I know, this is wonderful.
This is the original print. There is no negative. The negatives are lost.
Yeah, no negativity allowed on this show, only good stuff.
And this is there is a George and Williamson making the plaster cast of Orson footprint, and Betty Bailey, Alfred Bailey, the other witnesses.
Raymond Keller Raymond Keller has actually seen those castings. He went to the gentleman who holds those castings to this day. I guess they broke in a thing there. So this is amazing, folks.
And this is the only photo surviving photo of the footprint, the photo of the footprint of Auton. This is the left footprint, and here is a right footprint. I use all these photos in my book. So in my book, they are, of course, they are better, they are clearer, but this is just to show you the original print, the original surviving print. I am the only one to have the photo of the footprint. No one else has the photos of the footprints.
This is fantastic. According to some sources, and my source would be Dr. Keller, is that the footprint from his looking at it it's about a size 6 woman's shoe. So according to Raymond Orthon, as a woman there, and she said that to tell the Earth people. So, folks, George Adamski was the first modern day contactee. His name is not that well known with all of the contactees and all the information in the UFO circles today. But George Adamski was the first in the modern day era public contact. Wow, look at this picture. So
this is a painting, a drawing by George and Williamson.
Wow.
This is a cardboard.
Is that the right or left shoe?
Left footprint. So there is some color, and this is unique. Of course, it is unique.
And do you have the right footprint too?
And you have the right footprint too. The right footprint.
Uh-huh.
On the cardboard.
Wow. This is amazing. Now, I'm going to share something with you folks. I don't think Miss Michelle actually knows this, but I'm going to share with you something interesting here that would go to Dr. Raymond's experience here. And I'm going to share that with you just a moment here. Go ahead. Keep talking, Mr. Zirger.
Okay. So this is unique. I am the only one to have this drawing, and this is finished for the photo in the manuscript.
Wow.
I have another manuscript.
So I'm going to share with you folks real quick here a couple images, Mr. Zirger. I'm going to okay. Is a manuscript of
another manuscript, Road in the Sky.
Road in the Sky. Wow.
George and Williamson, Road in the Sky. He wrote this when he was in Peru in 1957. It was published in 1959, but he wrote it in Peru. Why he was in Peru? So just to show you a little, but there is also a drawing by Williamson in ink. And, it's proofread. There's many notes by Williamson on the manuscript.
This is fantastic.
Of course, there is many photo print with Scotch tape by Williamson in the manuscript. There is Williamson here on a horse in Marcahuasi, in Peru. Marcahuasi plateau in Peru. There is George and Williamson riding on a horse here.
I've been down there with another contactee. This is incredible, folks. George Hunt Williamson went to South America where the new Shambhala exists, and he actually put out a newsletter. Yeah,
the famous photo, George Hunt Williamson here with mummy, Inca mummy, or skeleton. But I use all these photos in my books on Williamson, so you can find back all these photos in my book in clearer. But it's just to show you the original print. Just to show you.
It's fantastic.
You have the Nazca line photo.
Mhm.
Photo of the Nazca line. No, Road in the Sky. Only manuscript, surviving manuscript, Road in the Sky.
Folks, you can't see him, but
I have also.
Go ahead.
This is one of the notebook of Williamson when he was in Peru. When he was in Peru, he noted everything of his travel in this notebook with maybe you know the Pucharo petroglyph. Pucharo. So
where are those located in Peru?
He went to Peru. It's located in the far west of Peru. Now it's called Pucharo petroglyph. It's very famous. Maybe Raymond Keller know about it. So he went there and he drew the petroglyph.
This is fantastic. This is like the version of the Egyptian hieroglyphs in South America, which has a rich history of connection to Lemuria. And George Hunt Williamson was working with the interior government called the Great White Brotherhood in the inner retreats of the Great White Brotherhood. And he had been to the Golden Disk of the Sun. My friend Luis Martens has been there, folks. So what you're seeing here is kind of like some of the first modern day documentation of the ancient historical writings of the contact with the gods from the skies by one of the most profound researchers, contactees, adepts on the planet. I believe he is still alive, and he is working in the Venusian and the inner earth, and will bring forth much information in the near future.
At that time, when he was in Peru, he was with Dorothy Martin. You know Dorothy Martin?
Yes, we know her as Sister Thedra, and Raymond Keller is writing a book on her now.
In this notebook, he mentioned Dorothy Martin. So she was with him at that time. In this notebook, he mentioned Dorothy Martin. I cannot listen. No.
Excuse me. What did he say about Dorothy?
No, just he mentioned he just mentioned an appointment with Dorothy Martin to have an appointment. Not much, but he mentioned the name Dorothy Martin in this notebook.
That is fantastic, Zirger.
They were together.
I can tell you that Raymond Keller is going to be writing a book about her, and he just told me some interesting stuff about the meeting and what took place between Dorothy Martin, or the woman from Mount Shasta we know as Sister Thedra, a very high level contactee and adept, completely in tune and telepathically connected and psychically connected to the extraterrestrials and the small still voice of God within. And what is this one?
This one is a little sad because it's written Dying Diary. So Dying Diary of George Hunt Williamson. The diary of the last year of George Hunt Williamson. So.
Well, I don't really think he died. I believe he translated, but that's probably a good cover.
On Earth, if you want. And you see, he changed his name. You remember he changed his name in 1962. He became Michel Dobrenovic. You remember?
I did not know that. I bet you Raymond Keller knows it. Raymond Keller.
George Hunt Williamson changed his name in 1962. He became Michel Dobrenovic. And here is his name on the Michel Dobrenovic, from the library of Dr. Michel Dobrenovic. And this is his diary from 1981 to 1985, if I remember. For the last year of his life on Earth, if you want. And but mostly it's about he's noting his dream. He's noting his dream, which person he has met, and etc. But it's very interesting, very interesting. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, could you share your book of what he has written about you?
My book, I can show you the photo.
Show me your book. Just bring your book down that you've written, if you could.
So this one.
Wow.
We are here.
Is this about George Williamson?
Usually it's always about George and Williamson. It's a mix about George Adamski. There is much on Adamski, but much more on George and Williamson. And in this book, I talk about my meeting with alien in Japan, 3 meetings in Japan with extraterrestrial being. And there is many, there is in this book, you can find the unpublished photo taken by Adamski, and you have the famous.
There she is.
Yes, she is, Dolores Barrios. But you have also the photo of Orson. The photo of Orson.
Yeah, that's from a distance. Yeah, pretty blurry here. Can you bring it closer to the camera? Maybe we can see it better. Or is it already just a blurry photo?
No, it's already a blurry photo.
Okay, well, I'm going to share a screen here with you folks to show you a picture of Orthon right here. And let's see here. So I want to share the screen, and there it is. Here we go. So that's a picture of George Adamski in front of the picture of Orthon, and she's holding her translator device. And I'll show you a color image of that with Alice K. Wells in front of it. I think that's correct. Kaz could jump in and tell me. So I'm going to stop sharing. And why don't you tell us now about your why don't you tell us now about your contact experiences? And they never announced themselves to me many times. They just you know who they are. It's telepathic. And for me, it was easier because the one I met was through Gabriel Green was Don Thor, and his image is on the Howard Mengers. So I knew it was him. But why don't you talk about your contact?
I will.
Your contacts.
In short, because it could be long. But so in 1994, I was already in Japan. I was already in Japan in 1994, and I was doing research into George Adamski and George and Williamson, and one evening, we went to a restaurant with my wife and a cousin, so three of us, and in a restaurant near Tokyo, in the neighborhood of Tokyo, and we started eating in this restaurant, and there was a woman seated on the left of us. There was a woman seated on the left of us, and she was acting very strangely, very strange. She had a very slow movement. She has a glass of water in front of her, and she took a glass of water and she was drinking very slowly, very slowly. But she acted strange, and many times or sometime she looked at me, straight at me. She turned his head and she looked at me, but she looked at me in a hard way. And well, to cut a long story, at one moment, I receive message, telepathic message from this woman. The message where you have to change your life. You have to change the way of your life. You have to change your life. So I was very shaken, if you want. And after this meeting, or consequence of this meeting, we decided, my wife and I, to get married. So I get married because, thanks to this woman, this strange woman, this alien woman I met the first time in a restaurant. So I thought it was an extraterrestrial, but I wanted a confirmation. So we tried to meet her a second time. So 2 months later, we go back to that restaurant. 2 months later, we go back to that same restaurant. We enter the restaurant. And of course, she was not there. She was not there. So my wife sat down at the table, and me, I went to the restroom. I went to the restroom 1 minute, 2 minutes. And when I go out of the restroom, the woman was there. She was seated at the same table as the previous time. She has entered the restaurant while I was in the restroom. So when I saw her in the restaurant, I got paralyzed, if you want. And so oh, she's there. It's not possible. But anyway, I went to the table. I sat down near my wife at the table, and there was still this woman on the left, exactly the same situation as the first time. But to cut a long story short, this time I wanted a sort of proof that she was an alien or something extraworldly or multidimensional. I don't know, but someone not of this earth. So I tried to send telepathic messages. I want telepathic tests, if you want. So first time, I asked her to, when I will take my glass of water, you will take you also your glass of water, and we will drink together. So I sent the message once, twice, and I took my glass of water, and she took her glass of water at the same time. So we drink together. Well, it was strange, but not really strange. So I start another test, more difficult. I send her this telepathic message. Take your bag, open your bag, take out a notebook out of your bag, and write something on the notebook. And she did. She opened a bag, she take out a notebook, and she start writing things on the notebook. And after she tore the page, and she showed the page. She write again, she tore the page, and she shows the page. So I was convinced that time. I knew that she was at least someone special. But she remembered me a little of Aura Rhanes, you know. It was a kind of petite woman, elegant. She remembered me a little about Aura Rhanes, the description of Aura Rhanes by Vesurum, because also Vesurum met Aura Rhanes in a restaurant.
So I wanna say some things here, folks, to give support to what Michel is saying here. For me, the same thing. Well, the first time I saw Don Thor and he came up, I've told the story many times. After Gabriel Green kind of initiated in my mind the possibility or laid the framework, because when they came, I wouldn't have noticed them if they weren't in the particular car. And when Don Thor came into the store, folks, I was looking at him. I was kind of elbowing my friend, a friend of Frank Chili's named Michael Legion. That's one of the things. Goes, what? No, he didn't. This was for me. And these girls ran through the store, and he went there and he ordered a pack of cigarettes. And I looked at him and I telepathically said, "You're not going to smoke those cigarettes. You guys don't smoke. Go ahead, smoke those cigarettes." And he raised his eyebrow, just like in the Valiant Thor picture, where he's got his eye kind of raised. He looked at me like that, and he says, "I'll have a pack of matches." And he picked up the cigarettes, he pounded them on the table, like in a theater, like they did in the 50s. He packed the cigarettes, pounding it. And then he looked at me. He was wearing a white t-shirt like the 50s, and he had jeans and all that kind of stuff. He looked like Fonzie from Happy Days or from American Graffiti. And he rolled it in his shirt. So this type of contact that I've mentioned many times, folks, of meeting various extraterrestrials that after I've been able to ask Raymond are confirmed. And Michel, I can tell he's like me. He's like, no, that's not enough. Give me more. So
the third meeting, I'm going to talk about the third meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell us about the third one.
Tell me more. So it's a little. So the third meeting was in 2010. So I went to a restaurant cafe in a neighborhood of Tokyo. It was in Gotanda, in a neighborhood of Tokyo. And it's an area where they are only Japanese. Okay, so it's a Japanese area, no Western people. It's very rare, very rare. So we went to this cafe. And I was with a French friend. This friend wanted to talk about UFO. So in the cafe, we were talking about UFO, about extraterrestrial, and I had just written an article in French about Desert Center, about Adamski, about Orson, about George and Williamson. It was the first French article. It was the first French article on Desert Center for a French magazine. So I was showing the layout to my friend, and I was showing the photo of Orson. Okay, I was showing the photo of Orson. I was showing the painting, the famous painting in color of Orson. Okay, and
I had that picture, and maybe Kaz can resend it to me. But I had that picture, but for some reason I couldn't bring it up. But Raymond has a picture of Alice standing in front of it with another woman. And I don't know if he wants to send it to me, I could share it, but it's a beautiful painting.
So I was showing this painting to my friend because this friend thought the extraterrestrial were only like little gray, or like in the movie film Third Encounter of the Third Kind, very thin being, etc. But he didn't know there was human looking extraterrestrial. So I was showing him, also you saw there is human looking extraterrestrial. So we were talking about Orson, and suddenly someone entered in the cafe, but this person was a Scandinavian type, Nordic type, Sweden type. So it's very rare. It's very rare in Tokyo. And this man enters, or Nordic, if you know, Scandinavian, Sweden, and he ordered something at the comptoir. He ordered cafe latte, if I remember. But at that time, I didn't see his face. But when after ordering his cafe, he turned, and this time I could see his face because he was coming toward our table. And at that time, I was spellbound. I was amazed because this man was exactly the same one as in the painting of Orson, the same face, exactly the same face. And he came toward our table. There was nobody in the restaurant, in the cafe restaurant. He came toward our table and he sat down on my left, and I was paralyzed because at that time we were talking about Roswell. We were talking about Roswell with my friend.
Yeah.
And I was, it was strange, very strange. So, and my friend noticed this man because he was very beautiful eyes, very beautiful skin. So, and he looks like the painting of Orson. So within myself, within my head, maybe it's an extraterrestrial. So I start again to send a telepathic message. So I was talking to my friend, but at the same time, while talking, I send in my head the message. So I ask him, are you an extraterrestrial? Are you an extraterrestrial? Are you an extraterrestrial in my head? And 1 minute later, he took a notebook, a little notebook, a paper, a notebook, and he wrote something on the notebook. He wrote something not in English, but he wrote something in French. He wrote, on est là, on est là. And in French, it means we are here. We are here. So this extraterrestrial gave me the title of my book, We Are Here. And he pushed the notebook for my friend and I to see it. And we were paralyzed. On est là, we are here. And after he stand up, he go up, and he went out of the restaurant. I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you.
I think if I was to do that, I might go, "Hey, oh, you're here." I would probably ask them some questions there, but
yes, but you know the famous writer Timothy Good, English writer Timothy Good. Do you know this writer?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. He has 4 encounters like this, exactly like me, but he was so paralyzed that he didn't talk to these people also. There is you cannot, I didn't talk to him. I should have talked.
I can tell you that they have a way to kind of, they don't paralyze you physically. They sometimes will misdirect your mind so it's not uncomfortable or go into a different situation. But I can hear Raymond Keller telling me now his favorite passage of the Bible, which very much is for us to realize Hebrews 13:2. What you've described as beware lest ye entertain angels unaware. So yeah, oh, please share all of your books.
This is my last book.
Hold it in the center so we can see it.
My new biography of George and Williamson, and also Adamski. I took a lot of Adamski inside. The title is Man of Mysteries, The 3 Lives of George and Williamson Revealed.
Can you hold the picture in front a little higher, closer in front of your face? In front of your face. And what is that that building?
This is in Peru.
Peru, I was going to say, Peru. Yeah. And can you tell us a little about the three lives? What were his three lives?
Many photo inside.
Yes. Can you tell us about his three lives?
By three life is the first life is he was born in 1926. So from 1926 to 1952, he has a normal life, if you want. In the 1950s, he was a student of anthropology and archaeology. But in August 1952, he was involved in a contact case by radio in August 1952. And in November 1952, he was involved in the Adamski case because he was a witness to the of Adamski with Orson. And after the Desert Center events, his life changed because he stopped studying at the university. He stopped his PhD. He wanted to do a PhD, but he stopped his PhD. And from 1952, there is a second life to start. And this second life is from 1952 to 1961. And now he becomes a UFO researcher. He did a lot of lecture, many lecture. He went to Peru to explore Peru. He wrote in the Secret of the Andes in Peru by Brother Phillips. And he was also a channel. He did many channeling with Dorothy Martin.
Yeah, he did many. He was
in
very
1961. George, you have a question?
Your voice was kind of being blocked. We couldn't hear you. So I was sometimes when there's dead space, I would say things because I couldn't hear you. I was going to say something, but he was very psychic, very prolific. He was communicating directly with the Brotherhood of the forces, sending messages to mankind of spiritual importance. This is not just a nuts and bolts UFO contactee. This is an immersion into the reality of contact with extraterrestrials. And George Hunt Williamson, probably being one of the lead psychics in that extraterrestrial field, Howard Menger, George Van Tassel was psychic. When they develop these abilities and have these contacts, let's say some of the abilities rub off on you. But Howard Menger, Dr. Frank, they had family lives, and so it was a little different. George Hunt Williamson was kind of an independent researcher and he's very much a communist, which the Venusians are not into the communism that we know, but into communal living in the terms the way Christ lived his life, in that everything was owned and shared amongst a free association of individuals. So I think when I think of George Hunt Williamson, I think of a high-level adept. He was in Secret of the Andes. He discusses the location of the golden disk of the sun. A friend of mine has been to that as well. And the knowledge of the inner earth. And the other thing I was saying earlier is I was looking at a newsletter in 1978 that said, are you interested in, levitation and the Indies and the spiritual thing? I know that came from him. I remember looking at that, and I was longingly looking at it. It had like a mailing address in Peru, if you're interested to come down and to work in the Brotherhood, it said. And this is one of the secret places of the lions, so to speak, that exists down in Peru, the entrance to the underground civilizations. And I know that I saw a picture of some archaeologists at a dig, and there was a Venusian spaceship right there. So I know that George Hunt Williamson went down, was taken inside the inner earth complex of the Peruvian Agartha network. And I know that he was doing archaeological expeditions from this very special valley. It's like Shangri-La, very surrounded by mountains. You need hiking. It's like the movie Snow. You have to hike a long way to go get there. Louis went there. They got actually a French guide. They went up to the mountains. They went into this valley, and they had quite a few experiences that Louis wrote about in his book, where he talks about his experiences, which echo the same story, Michel. So I think this is a very tremendous work that you've done, and I think that George Adamski should be honored and respected. And when Dr. Frank's book about Sister Thedra, who resided in Mount Shasta and who knew George Adamski, was invited to South America by George Trent Williamson to make her own contact and develop a higher thing. I think it's all of this work that you've done is playing a very important role for people's knowledge of the broad spectrum. Right now, it's about lights and what the ETs, what the Pleiadians are doing. Everyone's talking as if they know what they're doing. But the reality is they are doing, and they're right here, right? So I think that's why I was so very excited to have you on, and I'm so grateful that you came on my show today. And I'm hoping we can do another interview. And folks, I'm gonna ask him to come maybe to my conference next year. He's in Japan, but could you please right now say slowly any contact information you'd like to give with your email, where they can buy your books, where they can see this incredible research and the evidence of George Adamski and George Trent Williamson. And maybe one last thing, the second life, what is the third life before we go into your books?
Now the third life, so he changed his name in 1961. Why he changed his name? He has a friend, you know, Maurice K. Jessup. You remember Maurice K. Jessup? Who suicide in his car. Suicide.
Yeah, I was going to say suicide, yeah.
Suicide in his car. And apparently George Trent Williamson received a warning from, shall we say, the silence group, or CIA, if you want. And he get frightened he didn't want to finish like Maurice K. Jessup. So he changed his life from 1961, 1962, and he became Michel Dobrenovic. This is the name of his Serbian ancestor. All his family came from Serbia in the 19th century with his grandmother. So he take it back the name of his ancestor, Dobrenovic, Michel Dobrenovic. And from 1961, 1962, he disappeared. George Trent Williamson is dead. Nobody talk anymore about George Trent Williamson. But he continued archaeology. He went to Mexico. He did archaeology excavation in Mexico. He continued. He died in 1986. So relatively young. He was not yet 60 years old. He died before 60 years old, so relatively young.
I don't think he died. I don't think he died, but
I don't. Maybe he didn't die. But he was living in Long Beach. I also one interesting. He married an actress in the 1970s. He married a very famous Western movie actress. The name was Jennifer Holt. Jennifer Holt. She did many Western movies in the 1940s or early 1950s. the Holt family, Jennifer Holt. So he married he married fifth time. Yeah,
Three times,
fifth time.
5 times.
Fifth time. 5 time.
I know it's hard living with the contactees. They're just ungrounded.
But he died of a heart attack. He had in the 80s he had 3 heart attacks. So this was the problem. Maybe, as you said, he's not dead. So maybe he's
Maybe not. Wow. So yeah, this you've opened up a real can of worms with some of this amazing history of George Hunt Williamson. I know that Raymond Keller is standing by the side. Oh, I'm going to share an image with you. I thought I would just take a look for it. So my friend Louis Martens wrote a book called Secret of the Andes. So he was taken inside there's an island near where he has a property on the shores of Lake Titicaca. And he had been inside the mountain, and on the shores of his lake during the daytime, the people were standing there and an image began to materialize. And it was an image of a man wearing a robe. And Louis took the picture of the image and had it highlighted. And this is an image of the inner earth master Soramez that guards the golden disk of the sun. And he has, my friend has guided a lot of Japanese and archaeological film crews to certain locations in the lake where there are ancient records or ancient structures, because they want the information to get out. But what had done with the golden disk of the sun, it used to be in Lemuria, and then it was bought to, I think it was Cusco, then it went to Tiwanaku, and then it went to Egypt, and then it was bought back to Tiwanaku. And then according to Louis, they had drilled a hole in the mountain to bring in the water from Titicaca, the major, and they rerouted a river to fill it up, and they have now beneath the lake, it's a magnetic anomaly, it's very remote, and there's no way any government or anyone is doing anything. It is one of the major power vortexes on the planet of the Great White Brotherhood, which is always supported by a major galactic force, galactic Federation force and base that is hands off and a very powerful repository or vortex on the planet. And from what Louis has told me, Michel, and I want your opinion on this because you know this work well. He said that he was with Master Soramez. He went down through a special location on a sledded car, came into this underground temple complex where the people were wearing robes. It's another dimension, 5th dimension. So there's no lights. It's like self-illuminated. And he said the guy walked him up to, and he walked past some people sitting in silence, telepathically communicating. And there was the Master Soramez, that individual picture I show you. He was standing there, and he had a communication, and he basically explained that Louis was looking down to the ground, and he could see some rippling water like in a swimming pool. And he goes, "What's that from?" And he goes, "Oh," he says, "that's where the golden disk of the sun is, up there. And we just have a hole up there." And he says, "Oh," and he goes, "Would you like to see it?" Next thing you knew, he was hovering above a Stonehenge series of stones, and there were men and women levitating in a circle around a golden disc, which looked like a pyramid made, or a UFO made of gold. And according to him, this was used to monitor live streams from a higher dimension and to irradiate a cosmological information into the earth as a balance. And it had been misused by some of the priests in Lemuria and Atlantis, and was now in the hands of a more responsible force, although hidden from the knowledge and the sight of mankind. So when he saw that, he looked out and he could see another base. And by the way, I asked, was it a dome? And he said, no, it wasn't a dome. It was a force field, just a force field. The water was playing in the fish. There's not a lot of fish up there, but they were around. And so he saw, they said, what's it? And they said, oh, he says, whenever we have a base, they're nearby. So the Galactic Confederation is there to defend and protect the smaller groups. This particular group is like the one here in Mount Shasta. It's different. But he said it was to kind of balance and to use and to help focus and to keep the earth in harmony. And then I'll tell you the ending. And then the end, he says, the master said, touch it. He goes, what do you mean? He said, touch it with your mind. And so he said he went in to touch it. And the next thing he knew, he was outside the rock. So whatever happened, the memory was blocked after that. What do you think the golden disk of the sun does? And this, folks, is related to George Hunt Williamson. And he wrote a book called Secret of the Andes, where he talked about the history of this disk that I told you. It's depicted in our history in Egyptian hieroglyphs as the sun with the two horns around it, or the wing and the heart of the Sufis, or a sun with the heart of the ancient, I think Chaldeans, or I forget who. Can you tell me, from your understanding, what do you feel the golden disk of the sun represents down there?
If I remember, it was used to do multi-dimensional travel, if I remember.
I didn't know that. Cool.
I think it talk about it in Secret of the Andes.
Mm-hmm.
So you were asking me for a link to buy my book.
Oh yes, please. First of all, folks, I want you to get your pens and papers out. I'm going to have our guest here share his email address and the spelling of his name, and carefully and slowly, he's going to tell you the name of his books, maybe show the pictures where you can get them. Thank you so much, Michel.
All my books in English are published on, you can get them on Amazon, amazon.com. All my books are published on amazon.com. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me at the Zirger perspective @gmail.com. I cannot hear you now. I cannot hear you.
I need you to spell out each letter of the email. Go ahead.
THEZIRGERPERSPECTIVE. The Zirger perspective.
The Zirger perspective
@gmail.com. Gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
The Zirger perspective.
And what are the three names of your book again, please?
So the three names are Man of Mysteries, The Three Lives of George Hunt Williamson Revealed. You have also We Are Here, Visitor Without a Passport. You have also this one, In Defense of the Contactees, the question answered. In Defense of the Contactees, the question answered. And this one, Authenticating the George Adamski case.
Wow.
Authenticating the George all
That's-
in color. All
That's
in color.
that is 6 books, right? 6?
Wait, but I have book in French also, but here only in English.
6 in English.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have another one, but it's okay today.
Okay. Wow. This is an amazing. And how, where do they go to buy these books?
So the English book are on Amazon.com.
All of the English books are on Amazon.
The French book, you can get it in bookshop, but the English book are on Amazon.com.
Okay. For just a moment, folks, I'm going to share George Hunt Williamson's last wife. Were they married when he died?
What did you say?
Was George Hunt Williamson's third wife, Janine, with him when he died or alive?
No, they divorced before. They divorced.
So this was one of George Hunt Williamson's wives.
Yes, Jennifer Holt. So they get married in 1971 or 72, and they got divorced 4 years later.
Huh. Kind of interesting. He lived a very colorful life, and I'm looking this up right now. I'm just going to find you on Amazon for folks here to see, so they know where they're going. Okay, so I'm going to share this. Can you see this screen, folks? Can you see the screen there?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Okay, so here we go, folks. These are Mr. Zirger's book here, Authenticating George Adamski. We Are Here, Man of Mysteries, The 3 Lives of George Hunt Williamson, and I'm not sure, what's the other name?
The other name is In Defense of the Contactees.
I wonder why I don't see it. I'm going to put. So they're not all one spot of the
contactees. Because you wrote Michael, it's Michel.
Oh yeah.
No A.
Oh, I put Michel the first time and it was working. Yeah. See right here, it has your name. So let's see. Michel Zirger books in defense of the contactees. There it is. So it looks like they're splitting some of his stuff up, but there's that other book, folks. So I just want to encourage everyone to recognize Frank Chile has introduced me to another international treasure of information, and his research and his documentation is impeccable. And with your permission, Michel, maybe we could do another interview, and maybe I could sit back and listen to you two talk and share documentation with Raymond Keller. Would that be possible, maybe?
Next time or today? Next time? Oh, it's possible.
Well,
I would like to share my information with Raymond Keller.
Yes, well, you shared it with him here today. He's on the line. We're going to see him in just a moment. So, folks, it's been an honor for you to listen to my show. Check out my website again, thepromiserevealed.net. Come and see me in Mexico, Los Angeles, my conference, and stay in tune. I'm creating a tour to Tulum, Mexico, to the sacred sites with Louis Martens. We spoke about him, who's been to the Golden Disc of the Sun down in South America, and Vivian Chauvet, and down for myself down there as well. And maybe if we get enough of you coming, we can bring the cause. So lots of wonderful positive information coming out today, and that you'll be able to share with your families. Anyone says, oh, these guys are crazy, you can show them that we come from a long history of documentation. Do you have any final words for our people, Michel?
I hope they have discovered some new things about George Hunt Williamson and new photos. But I want to thank you mostly for inviting me. I'm very honored to speak with you.
The honor is mine. When I heard about when Frank Chile talks, I listen. He introduced me to Bill Tompkins. I introduced Bill Tompkins to Michael Sala. So there's a network of information sharing amongst respected researchers and contactees that is bringing more powerful evidence. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful magical cause. I'll let you guys sign off here in just a moment if you like.
Oh, Mr. Zirger, many thanks for coming on the program, and a great pleasure to meet you from one friend of Venus and the Venusians to another.
Thank you very much. So I'm looking forward to meeting you, to speaking to you another time.
Yes, I look forward to the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I get to be the agent that gets these two together, folks. There's so much knowledge coming here from these two gentlemen. I just want to encourage you all to check out Raymond Keller's books, the Venus Rising series, on my website, and please do support and help Michel Zirger in his promulgation of the wonderful information that you might find enlightening. All right. Thank you, folks. We'll see you again at our next recording. Bye.
Thank you.